Hi, and thanks very much for buying the Arcane cabinet. I shall just do a brief run through. It's a pretty simple methodology. The whole effect really is based around the storytelling and the items and the intrigue and however you want to tell the story and introduce the cabinet and the items that are in it. I won't bother going through all the items, but I think you've seen the pictures on the eBay sales thing page. So there's a old hip flask. I'll just get a few out. And all the items are genuinely old. They have a history to them. I don't know what the history is. You can either dress this up as an old curiosity cabinet, arcane cabinet that was found in the back of a curiosity shop, or it can be an explorer's cabinet where they're items that the explorer brought back from 19th century, wherever he went all over the world, because we've got different objects like there's a little urn. It says made in London, but that's kind of an Italian looking olive Roman type of vessel. So you can have a little story. What else have we got? An old bangle. Again, that could be Egyptian. You can come up with whatever story you want to behind each of the items that are in the cabinet. So basically, the effect, or there's two. I've kind of done two effects that you can do with this one. One which is based with two people or two spectators, and the other one is one spectator. They're basically the same routine, but one enables you to do it with one person if you've only got one person sat with you. So I think the outline of the effect was in the eBay description. So what you do is at the beginning of the demonstration, you put a prediction card down onto the table in full view of everybody, and with the two spectator version, you say, okay, we'll get back to that later. This is what I'd like you to do. So the person, obviously gone through the story, shown people the effects. Now you can either leave the objects in the cabinet, or it's probably easier if you take them all, once you've been describing them and showing them, is to get them all out and put them on the table. Probably makes it a little bit more interesting then as well, because you've got all the objects in front of everybody. So if we just pretend that all the items on the table, you say, I'm going to pop a prediction down there, which we'll get back to later on. And what I'd like you to do is the person on my right, or this person here, if you would like to select one item that we've got displayed from the cabinet and just move it to one side, so it separates it from all the other objects. While you're doing that, and you've seen, talking to the second person, you've seen which object has been removed, can you merely think of a letter of the alphabet? Don't say it out loud, and it doesn't have to have anything or any relation to the object. So this is a little tin box. So don't think of the letter T for tin or B for box, but just think of a completely random letter, but don't say it out loud. So the first object is moved across, and that person has done that. So you say, okay, great. Have you got that letter? Okay, don't say anything. Okay, would you like to pick the next object? So then they pick the next object in whichever order they want to. And again, would you like to think of a letter? Okay, have you got that? Cool. And then so that keeps happening until you need to have selected right at the beginning, or to put on your prediction, a target object. Whatever that object might be. And it could be, let's just say you've got all the objects out and it's the hip flask. So at whatever relevant time this person thinks of the hip flask, you say, great, we'll just hold everything there. And then you pick up your prediction and you kind of say to the person, okay, we've now got to the hip flask. You were thinking of a letter of the alphabet for all the other objects. What letter are you actually thinking about now, while the hip flask has been selected? And they say that letter, and you pop that down, you say, great, Fantastic. What was there any, and was there any reason, you know, you can draw out a little bit, was there any reason why you thought of that particular letter in connection with this? And they'll say no, just a random thought, blah, blah, blah. And then you pop that back down on the table. So then you say, okay, fantastic. So would you like to, or you can give them the prediction to each one of them, and basically the prediction then says, this is what I've been using for the last 15, probably nearly 20 years, exactly the same piece of card, so it lasts for ages. So this basically says, when the person on my left, or when the person on my right picks up the hip flask, the person on my left will be thinking of the letter, and if they said G, then you predicted G. If they say F, then you predicted F. Basically, you predicted the letter that they were just merely thinking of. And that's kind of the effect. Very simple, and it's all done with a thumb writer. So simple. There's no heat. You can keep the thumb. You can keep it on through most of the effect. And also the reason I've used the card to do the prediction is that when you pick it up, basically it's just easy to then thumb write that letter on the card. And the way I've done it is I've written it out. You probably can't see it on the camera because of the lights, but the way you write it out is you write, and I've given you 2 pencils, one to write the prediction. So the main prediction will be written out before you start the effect. So you would put something like, when the person on my right selects the so-and-so, so you want to pick your target object, whatever your object is, it doesn't really matter what object it is. Whenever the person on my right selects the hip flask, the person on my left will be thinking of the letter. And basically the way you space it is you just leave the bottom right hand corner free to put in your letter. If you're right-handed. If you're left-handed, then you would leave it, so you would just pop the letter in the bottom left-hand corner and pop it back down on the table. That's kind of the effect. That's it. One of the other tips that I've done, the card that I've given you to write on, I've left blank, and I've given you 2 pencils as well. So one pencil will be to write the actual prediction that you'll use. Like I say, that will already be written. You don't have to write the whole prediction while you're doing the effect. You just kind of, when you start the effect out, you say, I'm just going to pop something down here. I'm just going to write a little prediction. And you fake writing a letter. I don't know if you can hear that, but you can hear that I'm actually, you can fake writing whatever letter, or you can do a squiggle or whatever you think. Basically, I've made the pencil unwritable. So it sounds, so this one's gone because you've written your prediction in a drawer somewhere. And this is the pencil that comes into play. So right at the beginning, you'll go, I'm just going to pop something on 2 seconds. And then you pop that down the table and you pop the pencil down. So to them, 100% you've just written something down on that piece of paper, without a doubt. And then that pops down. And then that's it. You don't touch the pencil again. You can, at some point, you can hook up with the thumb. However, because your situation is going to be different to mine. If you're doing it somewhere else, then you can keep it in your pocket. So when you put the pencil away, you can then put on the thumb tip, or you can just have the thumb tip on all the time and just get used to having it there, because the one I've given you will be a brand new one from Verne, and they're the best ones that you can get, basically. They're fantastic. So that's the basic effect. Don't be put off by the fact that it's very simple. It's one of those effects that will not get massive hoop reactions, massive round of applause, but it will be ingrained in there, because without doubt, your spectator will think that you've just done what you said you've done. It's not a trick. It's not especially if you're a mentalist and you're not doing other things like magic tricks and things like that. This will be a genuine thing that you've done, and this will be a whoa moment. Okay, without doubt, there's no effect going on. You've done what you've said you've going to do, and I cannot highly recommend it enough. And again, with the story, set in a room. I've got an old gramophone record. You get the candles going. You tell the story. You know, it's pretty cool. So the second way of doing it with one spectator is basically you do the same thing. You can go through the story. You can take the objects out. You can leave them on the table because they look intriguing, and then you can say, or however you want to do it, you can say, okay, can you select one item and pop it back in the drawer? Or if the items are already in the drawer and you haven't taken them out when you've done the story, can you tell your spectator, can you just, I need this to be a completely free decision, and I'm not going to rush you or try and, you know, point you in any particular direction, but can you just pick an item, or, you know, they pick an item from the box or they pick an item to put back into the box. I kind of have the backstory of that my grandma had the power of the knowing, and all the people back in the day kind of knew that she had this power. It wasn't kind of a psychic power, but she just kind of knew things without knowing how she knew them. She could, you know, that kind of thing, ESP type thing. So I kind of give them the power of doing that. So then you've said that you've written down on here, and you want them, we can play it both ways. You can either predict it yourself and take credit, or you can say, I've written something down here and you're going to know what it is I've written down. So can you select it and put it back in there? And then all you've done is you'll probably need another piece of card, is write a prediction after being told the story of the Arcane box, but by complete free will, the object in box number so and so, or the item had been selected from box number, and then you leave. So I've numbered each one. So basically you then just add the number of the box that they've selected the item from, and that goes in the bottom right hand corner. I hope that makes sense. So it's kind of the same effect. But one is with two people and you're predicting what somebody's thought of. The other one is either whichever way you do it, you've predicted what item they've selected from the drawer, because each drawer is named from the item. So the fork goes back in number 3. The vase is number 2. They've all got their own particular ones, and then you just predict again with the thumb writing what they've selected. Hope that kind of all makes sense. Things to go through when they're selecting the items. So you've got all the items out on the table and you've made this your item as your target item that's been predicted on the card. Just say, for example, they pick that first. It doesn't matter. You've almost got another hit, because you can ask them, you know, why were you specifically drawn out of all the items? Why did you pick that one? And they'll give you an answer or whatever. And yeah, that's strange because, and then you just show them the prediction. So you haven't gone through any of the other items. But they pick that one straight away. If it's one of the items they pick within the other items, so they pick 2, 3 or 4, and then they pick that one, it doesn't matter. You just draw the effect of the conclusion then. If it's left to the last one, again, you've kind of got another hit. You kind of bring, you know, this is really weird because you've selected all of them. What was there any particular reason why you left the hit flask to last? Because, and then you've got the prediction pertaining to the hit flask. Yeah, like I said, it's a really cool effect. It's really simple. I'm a lazy performer in as much as I want everything to. I don't want to be worrying about the technique that I'm using to try and get the trick across. That's why I'm not a massive into card effects, and I love storytelling, and I love the ambience and the emotion of the effect. And I think that the simpler the effect is, the more you can concentrate on the storytelling, which is obviously probably one of the reasons why you've bought this. So again, thanks very much for buying the Arcane cabinet. I will be bringing out more items in the future, so if you could follow me on Instagram and Facebook, that would be amazing. Haven't quite decided yet which direction I'm going to go, but at the moment I will just carry on selling items on eBay. So again, thanks very much, and I really hope you enjoy it. If you have any questions, then message me through eBay. Any ideas that you come up with, and if you get a chance to film yourself, you know, doing the effect, I would love to see it. Cheers.